Welcome in to the Bro Force Squad podcast. This is our review of True Detective Season 3, Episode 6, entitled Hunters in the Dark. We are just a bunch of bros drinking beer, and in this case, watching some badass TV. Oh, what was that, a Coke Zero?
It was a Diet Dr. Pibb.
Definitely a thing. I'm your host, Jeff Hornacek. If you guys have not checked us out before, even if you have, thank you so much for joining us, especially for this season of True Detective where, wow, that's all I'll fucking say. I am joined today by our enforcer in the paint, Matt Geiger, and the American hero, Nate Thurman, to review this TV episode as we do all of our TV episodes on the 4 Bro Force Squad criteria: the acting, the story, our favorite scene, and any theories going forward. So let's just start, as we always do off the top, with some of the continuingly improving and getting better somehow week to week performances in Season 3 of True Detective. Nate Thurman, who stood out to you, positive or negative, in Season 3, Episode 6?
Oh, God. With this one, and it's tough because there's... Go ahead.
We can always say Ali, right? It's fucking implicit. Mahershala Ali was great.
Yeah, like I said last week, I mean, he's the fucking kingpin of acting for this show because he goes across so many different dynamics with the interactions that he has. But really, Roland, Stephen Dorff, I really liked his performance in this because throughout the episode, you see that weird dynamic with him and Tom Purcell. Obviously, there's something there, and in the 80s timeline, there was so much more to the relationship. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and now we realize that, and obviously we're going to spoil the whole episode. If you're listening to this and you haven't seen the episode, you're a sick fuck, and we need to hang out. But now there's the whole layer to it that maybe Tom Purcell has like an affinity or even like a sexual attraction to Roland that has sort of helped spur this relationship, at least from his end.
Correct. We'll get to that later. But especially in the opening scene, which we'll talk about more later, Dorff's acting, that fucking mean mug he gives Tom the whole time, fucking phenomenal. And then
Geiger and I, sorry to interrupt again, real quick. Geiger and I said this episode 1, I did not know Stephen Dorff had this in him at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really got to see. I mean, before that, the episodes previous to this, I loved Dorff's character. I just loved his ambiance and his character and how he played that role. But in this episode, you really see him bust out his acting chops, and he fucking killed it. And then on top of that, which we'll get to in the best scene as well, the diner scene with Dan O'Brien, Lucy's cousin. I thought he did a really good job, and maybe it's just because we haven't seen him as much in this season, but he played the role of a strung-out junkie so well, and just the dynamic between him, Dorff, and Mahershala Ali was really great, I thought, too.
Well, that was cool, too, because and again, we only had Dan O'Brien really briefly, I think in maybe episode 1 or 2, but This was a totally different Dan O'Brien.
Exactly.
So you can already see the range in just the 2 scenes that he's been in.
Yeah.
Geiger, who stood out for you again, good or bad?
I'm going to go new character, well, kind of new character, but Officer Harris James, just because we've talked about so many of the same characters, man, and you saw him a little bit of the previous episode, but the scene that whenever they were kind of basically interviewing him at Hoyt Foods when he's, what is he, director of security or whatever fucking
Which is,
job.
Again, and even the cops know this. It's a weird fucking title to have working at like Tyson Chicken. Am I right? Like,
I won't get too much into it because we'll probably get way into that story and theories, but I thought the way he acted that was really cool because I'm like, dude, I mean, he answered the questions correctly. Like, yeah, why did I get sick of being a fucking beat cop or whatever, and now I got a pretty relaxed job? I mean, who wouldn't want a relaxed job for more money? But then he also gave just little hints of creepiness, too. It was very like Woody Harrelson, Natural Born Killers, where you're like, are you normal, or are you going to fucking cut my face off? I thought it was very well acted.
And when Mahershala Ali says, I don't eat donuts, and he goes, I can tell, do you want to fuck him, wear his skin, or do you just respect him? I don't.
Got a really nice body, is what he said.
A little bit of both, I think.
I'd love to wear that body around like Vincent D'Onofrio in Men in Black. Check out our Men in Black movie commentary, which hasn't dropped yet, so get a time machine and then go do it.
I'd love to stick a donut around your dick and eat it off.
Call me old-fashioned. Nothing about that is old-fashioned.
Put a ring on it.
I guess that is technically what that would be. For me, acting wise, I'm just gonna go back to the well because it's not dried up. But Scoot McNairy, who plays Tom, to me, this whole season, he's had a few opportunities, but he's like the reliever who throws 102, and he's been warming up in the bullpen. And they finally fucking made the call and brought him in, and he just gas faced like 3 power hitters. Like
He's Josh Fogg from MVP 05.
oh my
Only
god,
Hornacek will get that reference.
cut Nate. Got 7 fucking pitches.
Deep.
But yeah, this was his episode, man. I mean, Scoot McNairy literally bookends the thing, like fucking crushes the opening scene and annihilates the end scene, which we'll get to, of course. But to me, this was his episode. And for a guy who was like an above average, I think calling him a character actor prior to this is like not quite giving him credit. But this guy's been on my radar and now he's all over it. Like if this guy's like some 15-year-old in the Dominican Republic that I've been scouting, now I'm taking his mom and dad out to dinner and I'm asking, what's it going to take to sign him? Because this dude, as just like Steven Dwarf, he's on the map now.
He needs to be in AAA in 2 years.
Exactly. Let's accelerate him. I don't care if he's 12. All right. The next category is story and plot, and maybe outside of like the first episode where they're just laying everything out, the characters and sort of the framework of the narrative, we got a shit ton here. So I'll bullet point a few of it, and then we'll just see where it takes us, since we're both half drunk. So a few things. Tom Purcell and sort of the revolution that he is gay, which the cops find out. Not sure how that pertains specifically to the story. A lot of different angles they can go.
Yeah, I don't want to jump too far into it, but obviously with that coming out about Tom Purcell and then Harris's is it Harris James or James Harris?
Harris James, but if we're doing like elementary school assembly, then you can call him James Harris. James Harris, perfect attendance.
Yeah, James Harris. Okay, the redheaded fuck. Obviously, with his comment on Hayes' body, there's some connection there, and I think it connects Tom and Harris somehow, which we'll get into in theories. But yeah, there's some connection that I'm seeing there once they reveal Tom's closet homosexuality.
Jay fucking. It's interesting you say closet homosexuality, since a closet is actually going to come up again here in story. So I'll just run through a few of these real quick. Harris James, we find out he's running security at Hoyt Foods, sort of too convenient. And then Hayes and West meet Dan in the diner. And basically the episode ends with obviously the realization as Tom goes to confront Dan in that motel. He beats the shit out of him, and then he infiltrates. I'm assuming I don't know Hoyt's first name, the guy who runs it, but infiltrates his house and finds the pink room we've heard so much about.
Yeah, I don't know if Hoyt's name has been mentioned to this point. And also, what are your thoughts, just briefly, do we think Tom killed Dan at this point in 1990?
That's what I thought happened.
Yeah, so I brought that up actually to Nate via text right before the pod, and I couldn't remember where Dan's body is found, and we can get into this in theories too, but where it's found later. But you said it's in Missouri?
Yeah, southern Missouri is where they found it in a drain quarry, which I know my initial thought was, nah, he couldn't have killed him and done that, but
it's not that far away from Arkansas.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know where they're...
The issue, not an issue, but there's motive for both Hoyt Foods and Tom to have Dan out of the pit. I mean, Dan's a fucking asshole to Tom, like, about the things that you should be an asshole about is why Tom
would want him out of canon right now. He doesn't give a shit.
And of course, Hoyt Foods, he's out here like fucking, sequestering payments to expose Hoyt Foods with whatever information he has. So of course they would want him dead. Yeah. Geiger, as far as story plot, anything that stood out to you? I know you've been a little frustrated recently as how they've kind of been teasing us and not giving us any payoffs, even though we're not expecting anything big till the end. But it's almost like, all right, at what point is one of these narratives going to lead to some sort of fruition for us?
Yeah, the only thing with the story kind of disappointed me is they basically did what they did in the first season, where, as we know right now, the villain is someone that no one could guess because
we didn't meet him till now.
You didn't fucking meet him till now. Yeah, so
or did we?
It's hard, to get theories and stuff. Yeah, maybe someone that we've already met is Hoyt. I'm not sure, but other than that, we learned a little more deeper about the kids. The whole is actually meant for passing notes, which actually I think Nate Thurman guessed.
You're welcome.
Episode 2. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
very well done.
Yeah. Before you get on further on that, so I am proud of myself for guessing that because I throw out 1,000.
As you should be.
I'll throw out 1,000 theories. If I get one right, that's solid.
That was genius. Yeah.
I'll be happy with that. But I'm wondering, I'm hoping it's not just like a red herring. There's got to be more to it. I don't know what the connection is, but there's got to be more to that whole than just passing notes for their parents arguing outside their doors. So I'm hoping there's more to reveal to that because I want that to play a bigger part as much as they've gone back to it.
And we just kind of, with Hoyt Foods and stuff, I think we kind of connected that that's the reason Julie's mom's dead, Lucy. I think that she was either saying too much, or I think she always knew where her daughter was. And I think we've talked about this in previous episodes too. We always knew that. I think she knew who took her, but we didn't know it was Hoyt Foods.
Yeah, there was some connection in episode 5, I believe, with the first time in 2015 timeline when Roland and Hayes are talking, and Hayes mentions that something she said was in Amelia's book and in the ransom note, and then Roland says, "Yeah, we knew she had some connection to that guy you just said." So we knew there was some connection, but now we're really digging in deep and figuring out what it is.
God, lot to fucking unpack. All right, I think everything else we can probably put off till the theories and questions portion.
One thing I do want to stop down on pertaining to story and plot, because it kind of is illuminated in this episode. It kind of may lead to some of the theories, but I'm not going to get into that too much. But Hayes playing into his dementia is kind of really exposed, in my opinion, during this episode.
Yeah.
So he's talking to, there's basically 3 different situations where this happens, and I noticed. He's talking to the reporter, she says something, and she says, and then, I can't remember the exact verbiage, but something happens, and he says, and what happened? Like he's trying to draw more information out of her. He wants to know what she knows so he can kind of piece it together. The other piece is whenever him and his son are out back, and he reveals, he's like, I know you're fucking this bitch. And he's like, how'd you know? And he's like, I'm your dad, and I also used to be a pretty good detective. So his mind is still working that he can pick up on that.
And that was Geiger's theory. I don't think Geiger said he's like completely mentally healthy, but the dementia thing can be a huge advantage for him if he plays it right and plays it up when he needs to.
I think that's him showing his cards when he doesn't mean to, which, I mean, it's just for the audience. It's not, it doesn't matter for his son. But yeah, his mind is still right enough to kind of pick up on subtle hints and clues between his son and the reporter, but he's playing in the whole dementia thing. I'm like, buddy, we're catching on to you here.
And I think he was playing in it hardcore with Dorf at that
one. And that is the third part that I saw during this, and it's the scene where they're at Hayes' house in 2015.
And he goes, takes a piss, and
Hayes takes a piss, comes back. Hayes looks like he's really shocked that Roland is reading the book, and I think he just uses his dementia card as a crutch so he won't look in that book and see some notes that he has made. We may get into some that a little bit deeper, but he kind of deflects, has him look out the window, but I think he's really just trying to use his dementia card so Roland doesn't look in the book and see something that he doesn't want to see. So that thing, the dementia and him playing into it and using it to his advantage really came out in this scene and came out in this episode for the plot.
No, that's genius. And to me would be, Geiger predicted this a few episodes ago, would be a pretty cool plot reveal. It's always fun when you realize like the dynamic was never what you thought it was the whole time. Like the guy that you thought was actually at a disadvantage has really been the fucking puppet master the whole time. Even if he has some form of dementia, it's definitely not. Like it's just too convenient when he fucking gets it, right?
Yeah, because whenever he came back and from taking a piss, you could tell he was really shocked that Roland had the book in his hand. And then he says, I never read it. I never read the full thing. You've got fucking sticky notes on every other page on this thing. What do you mean you haven't read the full thing?
The only other solution, and now that I think about this, probably it, maybe he took a shit and it smelled really bad. And so he's like, all right, if I come out and act like I have really bad dementia, there's no way Roland will even bring it up.
Roland's
The
already
shit-
had 3 double whiskeys. I know he's gonna have to piss soon. I'm gonna have to buy some time.
Yeah, and we're out of Lysol. The can's fucking. I don't know. I need to just buy a new one instead of leave the empty one on top of the toilet.
I don't think I left any dude wipes in there for him either.
Dude wipes. All right. Third category, best scene. Geiger, what do you got?
Start with me because I'm going with the ending one, man. I mean, it was the first time finally I felt something in this series for a while. This series has been fantastically acted. The story has been told beautifully, but after a while you got to pay some dividends and give us another reason to watch or a reason to basically just not want to fucking go to our jobs for the next week. And they finally did that at the very end. We'll get to it in theories. I don't think it's as scary and shit as a lot of people are trying to make it out to be, but at least they're finally getting to the fucking conclusion of this goddamn show. Season 1 I thought got to the point way quicker than this one has. But I'll pick
similar to having sex with me, the build up will always way overdo the end results, and I don't want to say I'm getting worried that that's going to happen with this show, but maybe it's kind of a victim of season 1's success, and that we've built these huge reveals up that it's almost like, dude, I don't know if there's anything that could make this hit in my mind, which might be kind of on us, but also the way they set things up is so fucking intense. Nate, how about you for best scene?
So my best scene is kind of one that's sandwiched in the middle of the whole episode, and it really, it's really isolated, but it has great acting and it's fun, and I like it because it has Dan O'Brien in it. So it's the scene where Roland and Hayes go finally meet up with Dan O'Brien, and he's giving him his whole spiel.
Real quick, in that scene, do you think Dan O'Brien has ever done drugs of any kind?
Well, he does say he was a junkie. I don't know. I don't think he's talking about junk food.
I think he meant like adrenaline junkie, like he fucking base jumps a lot. Definitely not
like
base. Yeah, not any other.
He was one of the founders of the base jumping movement back in the 90s. But he does a really good job of playing a strung out junkie who has nothing else to lose. He doesn't give a shit, and he'll basically do whatever he needs to get this money. But it's really funny with Hayes in there, and I can't remember the exact line, but Hayes comes back with something quick, and it's not coming to me right now.
It's not the donuts line, because that's with Harris James.
No, he said
I'm fluent.
I'm crazy. He said I speak crazy too. I'm really fucking fluent or something
Thank
like
you,
that.
Geiger.
Oh yeah, that's
That
right.
was awesome. Yeah.
He's like,
I want a T-shirt that says that.
I'm fucking fluent. Yes,
Yeah,
that one
fucking
was
fluent
great.
and crazy.
I've dated a few girls fluent and crazy. I'll tell you that
But
much.
yeah, it created a lot of tension because they really fucking want that information that he has, but they don't want to show it. But at the end of the scene, it really comes out because Hayes says, "I'm thinking about getting him that 7 thou."
Well, they paid for a Grand Slam breakfast, so now at this point it's like 66,980. You know.
Do you think Dan O'Brien will be okay with taking that off the top? He'll
be like, you tipped $6 on a fucking Grand Slam.
You know,
did the waitress give you an HJ?
It had a cigarette in it too.
That's true.
But no, I think it was great revisiting him, and he played the strung out junkie pretty well.
Agreed. And to your point, I think another thing I loved about that scene so much was that to see the actor who played Dan O'Brien do that, like, could it have been more night and day from the Dan O'Brien that we got earlier in the season?
Probably not. And yeah, we just got him. I really think the only scene he was in was on the front porch where Hayes and Roland talked to him at the wake or the
I barely recognized him
for William.
I had to think for a while because he grew a beard and long hair. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the cousin or whatever. I'm like, okay, the uncle.
Yeah, but yeah, there was a lot of great insight to that as well. Not just going off the acting, but he says him and Lucy had a bunch of milestones. Virginity.
Yeah, what in the fuck, dude?
That's got to be what that is.
And I felt like, am I the sick person for like that's where my mind goes? But also like he fucking said it. I don't know.
Yeah. And then also on that, I think there's another little tidbit or Easter egg in there when he says Lucy was the type of person who would push until she got what she wanted, and that she pushed until she got what she didn't want, which I think plays into her death, which we'll get into later.
Again, Nate, I mean, can she not have a fucking life?
She can have a life, but I don't know about the heroin and the cocaine. That may be a bit much.
All right, well, you were out of line bringing that up because
I
that's
was.
out of left field.
Sore subject.
All right, my best scene is I was gonna do the diner scene because it made me really want eggs, and it was great. I don't know why, dude. I love where like two people meet in a diner in anything, and it's like, yeah, they're eating, but also they both want to fucking kill each other, strangle each other across the table the whole time.
One of my favorite like little like nicknames for like a little diner or something that I've read in books several times. A greasy spoon is what they'll call like those little.
Oh
diners.
God,
Yeah,
that
I don't
is
know why.
some
always,
wordsmith thought that up. That's
I know it always works. We stopped by that greasy spoon over there, had a cup of coffee.
Yeah, don't you want like a shitty cup of coffee and some bad scrambled eggs?
Yes.
My best scene was the opening scene. Again, I said this was Sue McNary, Tom Purcell's episode. He got the ball in the ninth and he fucking shoved. And that's the scene where they basically re-interrogate Tom after the Julie Purcell phone call. And I don't think, or is it kind of flashbacky? Do we get the revelation of him being a homosexual during that scene, or do we not get it till later in the episode?
So that's later when they get the warrant to search Tom's house. They find the little pamphlet, yeah.
And that's his new house. Because at first I was like, dude, you fucking ripped apart the Purcell house. Why are you going back? But then I forgot he has a new house that he lives. But I just love that scene because the dynamic between Stephen Dorff's character in Roland and Scoot McNairy and Tom is so great because they are friends, but at the same time, I think they both kind of look at each other like, what is this friendship built on? Like, your daughter disappearing. And so Roland is like, if I can't even fucking trust that you're not involved with that, then we have nothing here.
His mean mug in that was fucking phenomenal.
Exactly, because he's like, the last 10 years, everything we've built, if you're involved in this, then that's all fucking down the shitter, dude. Because this was all predicated on me. I'm sorry we couldn't solve your daughter's murder. But if you were, or disappearance, excuse me, but if you're behind it, then like I can't tell you to fuck off enough times.
I don't know why, but it gets me every time, and he's done it like 3 or 4 times. Tom will say to Roland, he'll say, Roland, Lieutenant West.
I know, it's like
what?
I told you, it reminded me of the scene in Step Brothers where John C. Reilly, every time he gets in trouble, he says to his dad, "I'm your son." It's like you're only fucking like ace in the hole.
That's exactly how it is. He's trying to connect on some of the level, but he says that every time. He's like, Roland, Lieutenant West. I don't know. He plays that like, well.
He gave him a face like, don't fucking pull that shit right now. All right, last part of the review and the juicy part. Theories and questions going forward. I'm sure some of us have like repeats here. So, Geiger, we'll just let you go first. And as you bring stuff up, I'll just delete it off my list.
Let down the fucking floodgates. Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay,
watch out.
Officer Harris and Scoot McNairy have been carrying on a romantic relationship together since the 80s, I believe.
Woo!
I think that's what drove Purcell to cheat. I think that's what drove her to cheat at first, and that's what drove her to basically go out after other men.
I love it.
I think she went to Hoyt Foods because she's like, I want to divorce him, but I know I won't get the kids because I'm a junkie and I've cheated on him a million times and he knows it. So Hoyt Foods basically came up with a plan to look like the kids were kidnapped, and she went along with it. However, at the time they killed the son, she didn't know that. That's why she feels guilty, but she wants her daughter back. She tries to meet her daughter in Vegas, and basically her daughter's there, but then they basically just kill her. And I'm almost thinking that Julie Purcell is a Hoyt somehow.
Yeah, so that'll, I guess, lead right into this. Nate brought this up pre-pod, and Nate, I'll let you run with this. But this is my theory that connects directly into Nate. So Lucy Purcell agreed, for whatever reason, be it she wants to buy heroin, there's a shit fucking awesome sale going on at Blockbuster next week that she just wants to blow all her money on. But she agreed to sell her kids to Hoyt, whatever his name is. Nate will elaborate on why Hoyt's interested in the children. But when that happened, Mr. Hoyt was only interested in, and I'm sure, again, Nate, I don't want to put too much pressure on you, but you'll elaborate on this part, why he's interested in Julie and not Will, and why Will dies. But basically, Lucy sold her fucking kids to Hoyt. Mm-hmm. Now, Nate, why does Hoyt want the children?
Yeah, so I think it was mentioned in one of the first episodes. maybe 1, 2, maybe even 3. I can't remember, but obviously about Lucy sleeping around and everything. I think Tom even mentions that he thinks it was with someone at her work at Hoyt. So this.
Sorry, real quick, what relative is it at the? Is it it's a wake or funeral for Will, right? Who is it that basically says to Tom like, "You're probably not even their dad," or was that someone else?
That was Tom's mom.
Wow,
Yeah.
thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Well, she's talking to Hayes and Roland.
But he's like in earshot. It's like when your mom says something to someone else but wants you to fucking hear it.
And so that was a little nugget that they put in the audience's head, like episode 1 or 2. So
I didn't even think about it at the time. Like I was way too focused on other things.
I'm fairly convinced that Hoyt is actually Julie's dad, and so this will kind of play into.
But not Will's, right?
No, I don't think Will is included in that. I still think Will's death is an accident because the blood that they find is on rocks that are pretty much implanted in the ground. I don't know the events leading up to his death. I haven't got that far, but I think that was an accident. I think that's kind of why his body was laid to rest the way it was, kind of peacefully. His hands were crossed in a praying manner. But yeah, I think that Julie is actually Hoyt's daughter. And so they built this room for her to stay in. And Hoyt has been paying Lucy some type of alimony or child support or even just hush money, I don't know, to keep her quiet for so long. But then at the very end, kind of to what Dan was saying earlier in the diner scene, Lucy pushes too far and she started asking for more money. And then Hoyt figures out that he just doesn't want to deal with this shit anymore. So he stages her overdose in Las Vegas. And actually kills her. But that's one of the theories, going off of what Jeff was saying, that I do have.
All right. I have a few questions, which I think is the other part of theories that like maybe someone will come up with one. Geiger's pretty good at just coming up with these on pod. All right. So how or even is the church involved? Or even the dolls, I guess, at this point.
So the church is still what I'm struggling for. I don't know how that is involved. They haven't even revisited the priest or anything.
I was going to say, I understand to build a good mystery in a narrative, you have to have red herrings. Yeah. Like, you can't only show me the people who actually did it. That's really fucking stupid.
At this point, as much as I want the church to be involved, I think it may just be a red herring just kind of put out there.
And I'm okay with that. In fact, we need that, right?
Once the gayness came up, though, that could get the church back in.
Yeah,
that's the only way I think it'd be involved somehow. I have no theory on that, but
and so some of the things I've been reading online, people, I guess, just assuming things and theorizing on things. Going back to what Geiger was saying about Harris being gay, I believe, but I think that Tom and Harris know each other. And they knew each other through the 80s, somehow through the gay community, maybe met at the gay club or whatever. And one of the points I have to this is that Harris and Roland go to interview the guy who's like standing by his boat. He was the guy who found the backpack. Mm-hmm. You remember that scene?
I thought Harris was the one who found the backpack.
No, he's the one who confirmed it.
Okay.
So Harris and Roland go and talk to the guy who actually found the backpack. He's standing by his boat and they're talking to him. And they say,
oh, yeah.
And they say, do you remember?
My fiance goes, he's from One Tree Hill or whatever stupid fucking show she watches.
My wife is shaking her head. Yes. Cool. Thank you.
I was like, can we focus? There's a fucking girl missing. God.
So here's the one main point that I took away from this scene and the Harris scene. They show him the picture of Tom Purcell, and he's like, no, I don't recognize him. There are a bunch of people standing in the field around. There are people watching the whole time. I didn't recognize him. They go to Harris James. And they show him the picture, and they're like, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he was standing in the field across, watching us the whole time." Why do you know he was over there watching you? Because you recognized him because you knew him. So I think that's one of the connections there, and obviously him complimenting Hayes' body, that's pretty obvious.
I don't trust a fucking word Harris James says. I don't care what it is.
But him saying that he recognized Tom and him standing across the street, I really think that coupled with the other detective saying, "No, I don't recognize him," really points to Harris knowing him and recognizing his face. And so there's got to be some connection there. And I think that in the last scene of episode 6, a lot of people are assuming that Harris is sneaking up behind Tom and he's going to kill him. I don't think he's going to kill him. I think he's going to tap him on the shoulder and say, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing here?" He knows him.
Yeah.
Want a bone?
Maybe. Pink room, got some pink condoms over here. Let's have some pink sex. I don't know. I'm not gay.
All right. I have 2 other quick questions and then one last theory. And then I won't do them all because I'll let you guys jump in. But what the fuck happens to Amelia in the 90s? And is she somehow involved just like Harris James? Like maybe she found out too much, or she is involved because she had a connection to the kids and could maybe lure them out into the devil's den? And does she die because she knows too much or because she's involved, or it would be super anticlimactic if she just got in a car accident or something, right? Like they're not going to do that. So what the fuck happens with her, and when is it going to happen?
And the daughter.
Yeah. They're probably, okay, maybe they're together or something when they die. But Geiger, you brought this up before. Are they collateral damage either from Hayes getting too deep into the case, or is she herself, Amelia, somehow
I think Hayes
involved?
kills his wife.
Damn.
Thinks Hayes kills his wife, but he's not convicted.
I think he kills his wife somehow.
So going off the Amelia thread, not to get too deep into it, but there's obviously some theories out there that she is involved, whether she's the killer or she is involved in the kidnapping somehow, which I'm still holding on to that as being a plausible theory. She works at a school. She could be working with Hoyt, and she could be grooming children and finding children that they want to put into a possible sex trafficking ring. I don't know. It's one of the theories that's out there, though, that Amelia is heavily involved.
What if Hoyt is not bad? What if they're taking kids that are in a bad situation and trying to give them a better spot?
Children should laugh.
This was not a happy home.
God, that's so fucking creepy.
This was not a happy home. If they were like looking and they definitely know like Lucy Purcell, they know this is not a bad home. They're like, we're trying to take these kids out. What if Julie Purcell is actually really happy right now?
It sounds like from all the accounts of what she's told the 2 teenagers they've interviewed that knew her, that, yeah, she either has Stockholm Syndrome really bad or she was put in a better place.
Yeah, she was living it up, dude. I think she went to a Jonas Brothers concert. It was 2015.
I mean,
that was on
upper
Instagram.
deck tickets, though. Like, how much can you really care about her? Jesus, can really fucking
Nick
care.
waved, I'm pretty sure to me. There's a lot of people there, but...
There's only 6,000 other people in our section. Who else could it have been to?
And one other thing on the Amelia thing. So she was in San Francisco before she moved to Fayetteville, where they're at now. I feel like something happened in San Francisco that's going to be revealed in these last 2 episodes that kind of brings her out there. I don't know what it is, but there's something there.
Very
Dude,
interesting.
San Francisco is like the home of like gay stuff. Like, wonder if she
And
has
what?
a connection with them somehow.
Gay stuff.
I'm just
I don't know.
theorizing here. Don't paint me in a corner and call me a name. I'm just saying that's weird. I'm trying to
you're
connect the
not-
dots.
But yeah, you're not
I'm on the
wrong.
case right now. I'm on the
Definitely not.
case right now. Just trying to pull off to the side because he wants to go home. I'm like Hayes. I'm like, I'll just fucking walk. I'm on the case.
And then I stop the car and say something much less racist than what
I'm gonna say one thing like 8 times in a row. So one thing also, whenever Hayes and Amelia are at the bar and she says, in the past, 6 months I've been to St. Louis, used a different name at a hotel with a different job, been a different person. I think there's something there as well that plays into her being kind of shady.
But who is Hoyt? Do you think someone is going by an alias and they're actually Hoyt that we've seen?
No.
The way they didn't show his face though was kind of interesting. Like assuming that was him, maybe it was Harris James looking at the security monitor when Tom walks in the house.
Oh, I absolutely think that is. Because I think Harris James let him walk in because he recognized him.
For sure.
Yeah.
Plus he's like, this guy's 6 sheets to the wind. I think I could fucking take him if
Yeah.
I had to. All right. Last question that I had. So when we were talking earlier about I actually forgot my fucking question. I think we answered it because it was did Lucy sell the kids? Because of Hoyt. Hoyt is Will's dad. That was my final theory. And then Amelia being somehow involved. Although I do still think that the way that True Detective does things, they plant a seed and they water it and then they let it sit there and then they might come back. So there could be someone from episode 1 or 2 that comes back. Case in point, I don't know his fucking title, but it's the dude from The Replacements and The Dark Knight Rises, like the district attorney guy.
Yeah.
Clearly there's some motive within the police department. This was my question. Is the police department still involved with covering up the crime scene? And if they are, is that directly connected to Hoyt somehow? Or do they have their own ulterior motives separate from his? Because there's clearly some fishy shit with framing Woodard, planting of evidence, like basically wanted to expedite putting someone on trial, whether it's fucking Jimmy Burns, who they tried to get in the 80s, or Woodard after the shootout, which just made it too convenient.
Well, I think there definitely is cover-up because it feels like Harris James may be involved in planting some of that evidence there. So if that was already involved in the police force, I feel like they still may be trying to cover their ass at this point.
But is he doing that for the police or for Hoyt?
Geiger?
I'm not sure there's cover-up in the police. I think that they said it best in this episode when he's like, this town needs to heal. He might not be the right guy, but the girl's dead anyway. So let's just say that he is the guy so this town can heal. I think there's some dirty cops, but I don't think it was a whole police, like, I don't think the police are in it at all, like, from the top down.
Okay, so then the planning of the backpack, we'll assume, was Harris James under the instruction of someone at Hoyt Foods.
Yes, I think there's a couple dirty cops, but I don't think the whole
and I know he himself didn't plant it, but like we said, a crony, he could have fucking told the intern, like, hey, after you get my caramel macchiato, put this fucking backpack under that floorboard.
Double shot.
I don't want to be fucking falling asleep at my desk, Devin. God. All right, before we go, you guys have anything else? My brain hurts, but I love it. Okay.
Let me see here.
Fuck my ass. What's that from? Saving Silverman?
Ass. That is from a Tenacious D drive-through.
Okay, that's all right.
I'll take a Junior Western Bacon Cheese and
small seasoned curlies
fry and a Cherries Jubilee, and that's it. No, all I have in my notes is Roland Gay. I feel like there's some threads out there that think Roland is gay, but that's my last thing I have.
Huh.
I don't know.
He has no kids or anything. I could see that.
Yeah, why did his engagement break off?
It plays into him and Tom hanging out in the 80s so much, but
Geiger's theory that Hayes just goes fucking nuts and kills his wife has me beyond intrigued. I won't be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we ran longer than usual, but that's on the fucking show, man. Stop making shit that gives us a lot of theories and shit to talk about. For the American hero, Nate Thurmond, and our enforcer in the paint, Matt Geiger, I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek. We've been the Bro Force Squad podcast. Can't wait to chalk more True Detective with you guys after episode 7, the penultimate episode of season 3 next week. Subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, and Spotify. Bro Force Squad, 3 words. Check out all of our reviews on letterboxd.com. Follow us on Twitter at Bro4Squad, and check out everything we do in our squad blog on our website, bro4squad.com. Thank you guys, and we will see you next week. Still can't get over that Walmart scene earlier. I haven't shopped at a Walmart since. Unrelated.
Target only.
Right, Target for life.